Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Mark and Smark Connection podcast. I am your host, Jesse Disbro, the Smark. The Mark was working the podcast Twitter feed, that is at Mark and Smark last night. So we'll be checking in with his responses on the Twitter feed for last night's TLC pay-per-view. If you were watching, it was okay. This week we're going to do a little different show. Instead of our marking out segment with the Mark and our Smarks Remarks, talking about what happened this week and our big meaty topic and our finisher and our hot take, going solo this week. We're going to have a little bit of a TLC review here. I'm going to tell you what I'm marking out, and my good friend Phil Strum at the Under the Ring Twitter account is not a fan of the same thing that I am a fan of. I like it when TLC has a tables, ladders, and chairs match. We didn't have a chairs match, so... But whatever. I think thematically everything else worked well enough. The tables match wasn't, super exciting. But whatever. It is what 'tis. This whole pay-per-view, I think, was a very meh pay-per-view. This was the go-home pay-per-view for the year. Like the go-home pay-per-view for the road to WrestleMania. So we didn't really have anything particularly juicy that happened. The only thing that was particularly juicy in terms of moving storyline forward is that Daniel Bryan came back. And Humberto Carrillo beat Andrade, which caused Andrade to perhaps have some strife with Zelina Vega. So that partnership may be dissolving. We'll find out. We'll see. Basically, if you asked Matt, his favorite match, his match of the night was the TLC match for the Blue Tag Team titles. It was if you wanted the spot fest, if you wanted some fast action, if you wanted some good stuff, that was the one you needed to watch. The other match of the night, according to a lot of people, was Aleister Black versus Buddy Murphy, and I could definitely see that too. That was a little less spot heavy, but a little better psychologically told. And, the counter chains were very good in that one too. Very interesting, very exciting kind of match. From there, though, as Matt said, the card basically just got more meh, and more meh, and more meh, and more meh, and more meh. I was at a holiday function, so I only saw live the Women's Tag Team Championship TLC match. And I thought that wasn't a bad match. I thought it was solid. I wouldn't have, when I realized that it was the main event, I wouldn't have closed with it. That's a good kind of like palate cleanser in the middle. It was a little botch heavy. Yeah, there was some of the chair shots were a little soft. When Charlotte and Becky were pulling Kairi Sane out from underneath, they had quite a good view of the fire extinguisher and the fact they were about to be shot with it before they did. There's some things, but I liked there was a lot of interesting looking spots. I think there was a lot of passion with the performers for the most part. At least the Kabuki Warriors, they looked like they were actually into the match and were trying to get people hyped. And in the end, I think the right team won. I think that the Kabuki Warriors needed to win because that puts over the tag team titles. It says that the tag team titles are their own, sovereign nation, as it were. And you can't just put the two best female wrestlers on the roster together to take the titles from them. So if Becky and Charlotte had won, it basically would have just been a tool, a MacGuffin for future rivalry story between the two of them. And this still kind of gives it credit on its own. So I'm all for that. Like I said, I probably wouldn't have made that the main event after what it was. I guess theoretically the main event should have been the Universal Championship, which was Bray Wyatt beating The Miz. And a lot of people said that was very weird. It was kind of a different deal. Because first of all, it was Bray Wyatt, but it looked like it was very character driven. So if you were looking for, chain wrestling and flips and stuff, this wasn't going to be for you. But if you really liked character work and just kind of exploring space, it was an interesting match. It was definitely something to take a look at. But Daniel Bryan came back, and he's all clean shaven, pretty much. Well, not totally clean shaven, but they basically took a one to his entire head and face. So he's down to just stubble. He's the old American Dragon, Bryan Danielson, is back. So looking good. That should be interesting. Hopefully we saw the end of Bobby Lashley versus Rusev. I guess Bobby Lashley won, put Rusev through a table. I really don't care about this match. I stopped watching before this happened. So, that's what it is. Huzzah! So that's good. Rusev Day is back, and hopefully these guys will just be kind of split off. And if Lana's going to be the valet to Bobby Lashley, then that's fine. Bobby Lashley kind of shown that Bobby Lashley kind of needs somebody to talk for him, and Lio Rush was not excited about doing it. So Rusev seems like he can actually talk for himself. So let's go ahead and split him up and see what happens. I'm excited to see what happens for both of these people, but I'm more excited to see the end of this feud. Now, really the only other match, it was a very light card. I had expected a couple more matches to be added, and I'd seen during the day that they decided not to put the women's blue title in as a championship match. Obviously Brock Lesnar, he gets to take December off, so he's not going to show up at this pay-per-view. And, I thought that there'd be something else. We did get an open challenge from the Viking Raiders, and the OC came out, and that makes sense because the OC had kind of angled themselves as the number one contenders, even though technically the number one contender was announced as Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins, but they just never had that match. So, we'll find. Who knows? Who cares? We've already seen Hawkins and Ryder versus the War Raiders, the Viking Raiders, and it didn't go well. I can only imagine it would be the same thing this time around. So, yeah, we'll just leave it at that. That match was a double countout, so no one really looked better coming out of it. No one really looked worse coming out of it. I guess the only one who got put over in the match was KFC, because there was a special, fan, quote-unquote, seating for people to have $20 fill-up boxes or whatever, $5, I don't know, whatever. They were hawking some sort of fill-up box. And the thing about that was, I'm pretty sure they were all workers, NXT or local talent that they brought in to sit at this table. The ending was the OC looked good, like they were about to get over on the Viking Raiders, but then the Viking Raiders, put them through the KFC table and stood tall at the end, and nobody really lost anything. Nobody really gained anything either. So it was just #sponsored KFC match. So whatever. The King Corbin Roman Reigns match, I didn't get a chance to watch either, but I guess King Corbin won. And then there was a big old brawl, and everybody from the backs is just like, it came out, and there was the brawl continued until the end of the show, and that's actually how they closed the show, with Roman Reigns trying to do a big old spear off of a guardrail in the stands onto the big pile of people who had been brawling out there. And it didn't look quite as awesome as it could have, but I totally saw that spot was coming, so I saw it in my head as him getting a big full head of steam and getting one of his signature huge ramp spears. But no, it was just a normal spear, and he speared Baron Corbin and technically came out on top at the end. But yeah, so it was pretty much a nothing match. It didn't really decide much. I guess they're probably gonna fight some more, and maybe they'll settle this right before Royal Rumble or whatever. Who knows? Basically, like I said, it was the go-home match for the year. So 2019's pretty much over at this point. We're just going to have some... I think we'll get a little bit of this Daniel Bryan versus The Fiend / Bray Wyatt feud continuing. That's basically the storyline. That's basically the one storyline that's going to be continued to be told at this point. Everything else is going to be fresh. Maybe there'll be a little bit more Kabuki Warriors, Charlotte, Becky kind of business that just kind of fills the rest of the month. That's what they advertised for Raw. So, who knows? Who knows what's going to happen in this next month? Maybe they capitalize a little bit more on Aleister Black's win. Maybe they even capitalize a little bit more on Buddy Murphy's good showing. Maybe we get some more Revival, New Day for the rest of the month. But basically, if you want to take the rest, take your holidays and not worry about WWE until January, you're probably good. You probably don't have to worry about it at all. As for AEW, we kind of had some strange alliances formed during AEW. Chris Jericho tried to recruit Jon Moxley. We didn't find out. They're probably going to milk that for a little bit of time. Moxley didn't immediately say no, which is one of the things you could expect him to do. And as part of the whole Butcher, the Blade, and the Bunny bit, they took on Cody and QT Marshall, who, Cody brought in as kind of one of those upcoming guys. But it was Darby Allin who actually came out and made the big save for Cody. So, looks like there might be a little something going on between Darby Allin and Cody. So that's interesting. Very interesting. And a little bit more, we're moving forward with the MJF bit. That's it. There was a women's match too. That was something. We got to see Shawn Spears return to TV, and he once again ate a pin, so good on him. Luchasaurus got to do some work, so good on him. Where that's basically the drive, the ramp up to next week's Jungle Boy versus Chris Jericho match, and then Young Bucks took on Santana and Ortiz in a Texas Street Fight. Again, another one of those fun matches, a little different than you get from the Bucks generally, because it was a bit more of a brawl rather than a flippy match. So if you want to see a little bit more range from the Bucks, that's what happened this week. But this week is the big upcoming the championship matches for AEW. So AEW is putting a lot of cards on the table for Wednesday. So keep an eye out for that. We'll be following up on that for our next podcast. And with that, I'm probably just going to go ahead and hit my finisher today. My finisher is called, I was here. And with that finisher, what I do is, I'm channeling Orange Cassidy in this. We had a big match, and we're now just, and then I do a nice Jon Moxley shrug, and it's kind of like, and then I walk off. And then as they could try to come follow me, I bop them right in the face, get back in the ring, take a 10 count, and then I walk off, go to the back, sit back, enjoy, catch my breath, and then listen to the Mark and Smark Connection podcast on markandsmark.podbean.com, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play Music, YouTube, Facebook.com/markandsmark. You can find us on socials for Twitter and Instagram at Mark and Smark. And you can also find us at the Daily Smark website, where as soon as our podcast goes up, you'll be able to find it right there in the feeds. You can also go to our page for it as well. So, for Jesse Disbro and nobody else this week, I'm signing off. Hope everybody had a good week and happy holidays if we don't see you. Enjoy.